Welcome to the Leadership Transition course. As we continue in this module with looking at roles. And in this particular topic, we will look at what roles are from a technical point, a management point, and a leadership point. So basically, what are roles? A role is simply a kind of position that you take in order to execute a number of tasks as agreed. So if you would separate roles into different aspects, you can do that by looking at it from a technical point. For example, what is a technical role? When you talk about the technical role, you talk about, for example, look at an individual or a specialist. You also look at it in the content and the task. For example, if you would consider one of our fictional name, John, who happens to have a PhD. In a PhD world, you do a lot of research and you're diving into some special topics, which means there are some special technical skills and ability that you need or knowledge or expertise in order to perform those research or work. So basically, you can consider John, who is a PhD, as having a technical role. In the same way, if you look at James, who has been a design engineer, probably doing design work and doing things that are more technical with respect to the function. Then you could also consider the role of John as being technical. But in this case, John is trying to transition into a leadership role. Why James, who actually was doing the design role, is the one that the manager approaches to transition into a leadership role. John, in this case, who is doing the PhD research, is looking at ways to understand what it means to transition into a leadership role. So basically, both of them are more on the technical role because they're specialists in their field. They deal with the content or details in order to perform certain tasks, and they most work likely as individuals on their own without really having to guide anyone or lead anyone to do what they need to do. But then if you look at management role, this has to do more with organizational, collective, on high level resources, like they have people and they have to ask them to do things, and also involves some tasks. Mostly it's administrative and also has to do with guiding the development and maintenance and allocation of resources. So which means as a manager, most likely in an organization that is functional based, you will have people that you assign to tasks and manage them and make sure that they do the tasks as required. So, and that means you go into things like planning, organizing, to some extent leading, and also controlling what people do. But then you're not really into the technical details of what your people do. And that is the difference between it and the technical role. And then when you come to the leadership aspect of it, then this is a little bit more than just organizing and asking people to do things or your resources to do things. As a leader, you might not even have a resource of your own. You might need resource from a manager. And then when you get that, you are more into situational cases where you have to deal with behaviors and come up with strategy, and in some cases coach and inspire people and empower them, and also have a vision so that people see where you're going. So they're not just interested in what is there and how they need to do it, but they want to see if something would happen, how do we change it, and it goes beyond just administering tasks to people. It has to do with a lot of mentorship and guidance, and also vision and strategy. So basically, these are the main three roles you can look at when you talk about roles. And of course, each one of them requires their own level of skills. We've talked about skills in the past. By the way, someone like Sarah, who happens to be part of our fictional case study, um, would be doing in her 1 or 2 years already, that she was already in that role, probably a management and a leadership role. But if she's still having trouble dealing with behavior, it could be that she has been doing more of managing, just asking people to do things without really understanding people and being able to change or coach them or inspire them, which is what she would like to learn more. In that sense, she has to transition from a core management role to a leadership role, not just being able to organize things the way they were agreed or ask people to do things the way they are, but how to make sure she can add value to people's life, empower them, and grow in that level of leadership pattern um, or phase that people, respect her, relate with her, see her for who she is, and other things. And in that sense, you need to connect these roles to a number of skills. So if you look at management skills, and again, remember that management sometimes can be close knitted with leadership, but there are still certain aspects that differentiates them. So from a technical role, we already said you need to focus at the function you're doing, the tasks, the content, and for a manager, you look at things like interpersonal skills, how you relate with your people, conceptual skills, and also you have some technical skills. So again, you see interpersonal, which you would wonder, um, if management skills is all about just using people to do things. It doesn't mean that is where it has to stop. As a manager, you also have to have the ability to relate with people, and that's why you are there to manage people. But also, you might need some level of technical skills. That means you know what they do in their various functions to be able to manage them. And also conceptually, it's how you think with them along and, guide them in a proper way and mindset. But then when you really go into leadership, then there's more to that. So there has to be some level of coaching. You create time to coach people apart from relating with them. You manage conflict and not avoid them like a manager would, most managers would do. And you support their cultural development as well as, giving constructive feedback, motivating them. These are the skills that a leader would need extra on top to go beyond just managing. And as a leader, delegating is also important and doing it properly, such that you can also empower the people in a way that you manage them effectively. And these are the things that you can look at. So for each role that you take, you should know that as you look at from a professional point down to management, down to leadership, you see that on importance level, um, when it has to do with the functionality or the profession in which you are dealing with or the content. Yeah. So in this case, your technical skills are more important. Um, so if, for example, John, as a PhD person, his technical skills are far more important than his leadership skills or management skills. Doesn't mean he shouldn't be able to do that when it's needed, but it's not the most important for what he has to do. But then as you go into managing, then your technical skills begins not to matter a lot, but you should also have some foundation in what the people you're dealing with knows to be able to still manage them. This is the same for leadership as well. And as you grow up the ladder or the pipeline of leadership, you start becoming less technical, though with the background knowledge, and more managing plus leading. And then you develop those skills that are needed as you grow in that pipeline to be able to succeed in your career or in your role. So basically, this is what or how you relate roles and skills and how that helps you in your leadership career. Think about them. Think about what skills you need to develop today. So for Sarah, she needs to think about more leadership approach to be able to coach and make the people believe in her more in terms of behavior and other things. For James, to transition from his design role to a leadership role, he needs to start learning maybe a couple of management roles and then improve further with some leadership role because they are also interrelated. And for John, who is a PhD, he then understands that he needs to start being more aware of the management skills and leadership skills in order to be able to make a career change later in life from his PhD role or technical role. So thank you for listening as we come to the end of this particular topic.